Jai Shri Mataji, everyone. Welcome to this evening's collective meditation. We are pleased to announce the opportunity to host a very special guest who is here with us today. Shankar Ramani Bhaiya from the Pennsylvania Collective. Shankar Bhaiya, correct me if I'm wrong later, but from the Pennsylvania Collective has agreed to conduct a special session for us today to share his experience with practical ways for Sahaj Yogis to get deeper and to realize the most benefit from Sahaj Yoga. Shankar Bhaiya has always been a cornerstone of the US Collective, and he's especially well recognized as one of the creators of the very, very successful online meditation initiative, the Sahaj Online website. Shankar Bhaiya is also a very accomplished professional Carnatic vocalist, musician, concert performer, and an online music teacher as well. And he's had a lot of experience here in the Sahaj Collective in the US with programs both in the Sahaj world as well as professionally. So with that, I'd like to welcome you, Shankar Bhaiya, and thank you immensely for agreeing to conduct this little session for us. With that, I will let you take it away. Jai Shri Mataji.
Thank you, Pawan, and thanks for the great introduction. Hopefully, I'm clearly audible, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So thanks for the introduction. And as I was telling Pawan over some email, a lot of all of this history, can actually, make it more difficult for me to actually, meditate and so on, because the challenge that all of us face is how do we go higher? And so today I thought I would just do a session with three parts to it. First, just share some of my experiences, but more than anything, those are challenges that I have faced and challenges I continue to face. And I'm going to just restrict myself to some of the deeper problems. I'm not going to go over any of the obvious ones, techniques and so on, which I'm pretty sure all of you know, and all of you are very much aware of, and some of you might even be experts in those areas. So I'll take some time to, see, to sort of collate the experience that I've had, and then a lot of the yogis that I have met, and especially people on Sahaj Online in the advanced stages, they have been facing, and so on. And then just some directional, I would say, sharing of how what we have tried to do to overcome the problems. By no means are we in a situation where we have solved something, or we have gone higher or anything like that. We continue to work on those, and then I wanted to play a short clip of Sri Mataji. Again, once again, we have used this clip earlier in one of our meetings. And then, of course, the most important part, we will follow the clip with a meditation. And again, I'll share a couple of tips which some of you may not have heard before, in terms of how the meditation is done, or at least what's been useful to me to overcome some of the problems. So that's the session that I was planning for today, and with that, I'll get to it. The first 10 minutes is just to share some of my experiences. So, the first thing, at least for me, and a lot of people who have told me or interacted with me, is the spiritual ascent and the progress and getting better and so on and so forth. How do we get more subtle? And this is a constant challenge, a constant sort of, you would say, when you go higher, the force to come down also increases. So the downward pressure on us also increases. And from Srimataji's talks and her teachings, it's been designed that way. So the spiritual progress is an upward spiral, as is our Kundalini itself. So a spiral is something that, you can't go straight up. So you have to go, in circles. And then, as they say, a spiral, you can go downward or upward. The downward spiral is very much a possibility, as is the upward spiral. But as you go higher, you're continuously experiencing an equal force which drives us downward. So the progress really is in a spiral fashion, and it's all about getting more and more subtle. And that's the challenge that, at the first, the most important, if I were to take just the deeper problems that a lot of people, including myself, have been facing, is how do we get more subtle. And some of the couple of the experiences and the I would say the experiences that have been shared amongst us is an example of is how do we view even Sahaj. So Sahaj is all about having the powers inside us. So it is very easy for all of us to get sort of diverted to the external aspects of it. Even collectivity, for that matter, is not about just getting together. It is about, at that collective consciousness level or that higher state of consciousness, are we collectively feeling the vibrations and the experience, feeling each other's spirit? So that's the subtler form of what collectivity is. Or if we go to the mantras, for example, when we say the mantra, all of us say our mantras, and we know what they are, but do we really feel it from our heart? And more importantly, do we know what we are saying? So we had a session where we decided to first say, let's understand the mantras, and if you take the mantras that we recite, what are we trying to do there, so that when we actually recite the mantras, and I'll come to it in a while in terms of the difference between saying a mantra versus reciting. I would say that saying a mantra is probably not even the right phrase or the expression. Is to understand the mantra and what is it that we are expressing. So as an example, so what we shared amongst us was, the mantra is an expression of devotion. It enhances, or it is an appeal, or it's sort of it's an appeal to the specific power inside us. And that power is sort of recharged, established, manifested within us through the power of the Adi Shakti within us. And sort of the Adi Shakti is the, you could say, the fundamental power within us, the aspect of the Adi Shakti. And it is only through the Adi Shakti that we are able to recognize each of the different powers in each of the chakras and the channels and so on. So it is all about, if we were to take an analogy of what we do on a daily basis, we charge our iPads, we charge our phones, and today I think some people even charge their cars. But we spend a lot of time trying to keep them charged up, and this is a problem with me as well. Somehow I find I don't pay the same attention to recharge the powers that are there inside me in my subtle energy system. And that's exactly what Sahaj is about. The focus and the attention somehow seems to be more on, okay, what's easy and what's necessary and what's comfortable to me. But in reality, Sahaj is about charging those powers and the aspects within us, the power of Sri Ganesha, or the power of the Guru principle, or the power of Mahakali, and so on. And together, if we are able to recharge and keep these powers within us active and extremely strong, then we would have achieved made a lot of progress. And so, coming back to the mantras, even the structure of the mantras, when we analyzed, it is Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri, and then the name of the deity or the power, Sakshat. And then the second line is important. The first line is a desire or an appeal to express or increase that aspect or establish that aspect within us, within our chakras, and to get those qualities and powers. And the second line says it all. Shri Adi Shakti Mataji, Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. So through the salutation and through the use of the power of the Adi Shakti, and that second line comes with every mantra that we have. So the whole point here is the subtlety aspect is for us to realize, number one, it is important. Physically, we do a lot of things. We try to meet, we try to come online, or we go to a person. or a place, to enjoy Sahaj collectivity. We do some pujas, we do a lot of things, we say mantras. But end of the day, what really matters is at that subtle level, understanding and from our heart, what are we saying, and trying to increase that aspect and the powers and sort of that recharging, if you will, on a daily basis, monthly, yearly basis, trying to keep that recharged as strong as possible. That really is the true answer and the Sahaj way of approaching spiritual ascent. And that's an example. So if you take the Maha Mantras, that's even more complex. There are three mantras, and when we had a session for people who were being introduced to mantras, I kind of made sure that we understand every word of what's being said. And then the Sahasrara mantra alone took about 45 minutes to really explain. And it's not that people should memorize every word of it, or literally try to recite the mantra, but it's also about understanding the subtlety and what are we saying when we say those three great mantras. So as we dig deeper, we find that it gets more and more subtle, and collectively and individually trying to approach that paradigm, and a paradigm of subtlety, and trying to reach out and trying to access that subtle part of Sahaj, is, I think, the biggest challenge that at least I've had and a lot of people have had. So then comes the aspect about solution and all that, and I'll come to that shortly. But about this recharging and about this becoming subtle, Sri Mataji has always said the difference between Sahaj Yogis and difference between and the rest of the people who do a lot of prayers, perfectly good people, nice people, extremely religious, pious, pursuing spirituality. The one big difference is our connection, and the reason that we can progress and we can move forward is because we have a connection, a direct live connection, and to all these powers which are there inside us, which we activate. And since the connection is there, the conduit for expressing what we want, our desires, get heard by the divine, including Sri Mataji herself. And that's an important point over there. It's not just about practicing Sahaj. Okay, we have our self realization, but at any point in time, the subtlety and the spiritual progress can only happen if the connection itself is strong. And so it's all about how strong is our connection, and are we, even before that, are we even able to feel the strength of our connection? As an example, when I raise my Kundalini energy, I always try to feel the vibrations when I'm tying the knot at the crown of the head or the Sahasrara chakra. And there are days when I don't feel anything, and so I can straight away tell that not a lot of the Kundalini has risen, and so for some reason it's getting caught up somewhere, and my connection is going to be poor. Versus there have been situations when I perhaps even did not need to raise my energy, and it just shot up, and then I could still be there. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that. So that whole relativity in the connection and the strength of the connection, I think, has been an important pursuit in Sahaj, because it's all about the connection, and then with the connection, then everything else comes in, because it's like the channel is open, and so our prayers are also, whatever we ask for, are also answered, and we get what we need, and then the conduit is open, so everything from the divine and the higher consciousness also comes inside, replenishes us, and so on. So that's sort of the subtlety aspect, which I think I have been over the years trying to work towards, trying to find ways and means of doing that. The second part of it I had wanted to share was coming to solutions about what we have tried, what I've personally experienced is and fairly rudimentary, elementary solution, but still extremely important. The other day I was listening to a talk when Sri Mataji said and this was the talk from the 70s or 80s, one of those early years talks. The first goal should really be thoughtless awareness. And so when we sit for meditation, how much of the time during the meditation we have that stillness inside us? And clearly that's been a sort of a big struggle as far as I'm concerned, in the fact that it is still up and down, and not probably the way I would like it to be. And a lot of yogis I've spoken to have also said that yes, everybody has had a peak experience, the greatest of thoughtless awareness. So everybody really likes it and knows what it is. But the challenge is, how do I replicate that peak experience and I make it consistent so that 5 out of say 10 or 5 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 meditation sessions that I sit in, I'm getting the same quality of thoughtless awareness. And I think that's probably the challenge that many of us face. And in my experience, the way I have tried to solve it, and it is still a work in progress, is the number one thing that I have felt is the humility aspect of it and the surrender. While there are techniques and mantras and nirvichar and all of those things, I think fundamentally it goes back to at any given point in time. And I think this has become a problem with age as well. We perhaps get more conditioned, and we have more achievements, so to speak, to our credit, more thinking, more learning, and so in some ways it's more rigid and all of that. So the I would love to go back to those days 25, 30 years ago, when I had pretty much nothing, and I had no accomplishments to speak of, and at one time no job, no money, nothing. But the one thing I had was a lot of humility, and in that humble state, my vibrations and the experience of thoughtless awareness was fantastic. And I would really love to have that back on a more frequent basis. Not that I don't have thoughtless awareness today, it is great on so many days, but the point is about consistency. So that humility, I think, is something that I try to personally work on. And the second part of it is the surrender. Now surrender is, yes, we many times we just say, okay, let me surrender to the Kundalini energy, to Sri Mataji, etc., right? But really, what surrender means is just stepping aside and not doing anything, so that all the powers that are already innately within us can sort of manifest and flow unhindered. And that can be a difficult thing. One, because there is some thought process and we are getting in the way, and two, because of our conditionings and all of that. So allowing that great power within us, and of course the supreme Adi Shakti power to work within us, is a solution. So it's almost like saying, can we really do nothing? Can we just be humble and watch and allow the power to work and give it the time to work itself through our chakras, and then cleanse us? And can we be patient and humble and allow the powers to work? So that's another method, when I have tried successfully, has really helped as compared to many others. And then, of course, there are technique related aspects for thoughtless awareness, which is I just want to share one thing, because I don't want this to be a technique oriented discussion, which most of you are already aware of, or all of you pretty much know. But I had a conversation with a yogini in Canada, and she had very close personal interaction with Sri Mataji. And so I was telling her, thoughtless awareness and so on, even after so many years, how do we make it consistent? And I remember the day some 25 years ago, when I had that experience, deepest meditation ever, and that's been my peak experience. And since then I have not had that quality. I would like to be in that state of heavenly state almost every day. So what can I do and to improve my thoughtless awareness? So she said that as far as the attention being better for those people, especially where you have difficulty in focusing your attention, Sri Mataji said the ice pack is highly estimated and underrated by Saj Yogis. It can actually work. A cube of ice can do miracles, is apparently what she said. And she recommended using the ice pack, for the liver. In fact, even for avoiding serious problems with the liver later on and so on. And most importantly, to cool down the liver and improve the attention. And then this yogini also told me that Sri Mataji advised somebody who had asked the same question about have a vibrated water overnight and vibrated sugar, and then mix the sugar in the water and have it each morning for to improve the liver. So working on the better attention and some of these aspects can also improve that whole thoughtless awareness thing. And having that thoughtless awareness, in my experience, is paving the way for a stronger connection. And paving the way for the stronger connection is again trying to improve the subtlety. And if we are able to improve on the subtlety, then we automatically have some level of progress, or some extent of spiritual progress. So that's the thoughtless awareness part of it, was the second thing. The third thing I wanted to share, it's something that I have definitely have had one experience, or you could say one stint, or a one stretch of my journey in Sahaj, a complete and total transformation, roughly about 10-12 years ago, when I used this. And since then, I myself have not been successful in utilizing this, which is to listen to a talk of Sri Mataji every day. And I did this for, I think, 9 months at a stretch, without missing a single day. And my whole life was transformed. And the thing I realize in retrospect is, it's an extremely difficult thing to do. And I would encourage people to even try it even for a month, 30 days, whatever the length of the talks, clips, etc. Today we have a lot of content over there, but this is sort of the most powerful cleansing, clearing agent. And when she talks to us, she talks directly to our Kundalini. And I have recommended this to a few people, and they've also come back and said, "Oh yeah, it makes a huge difference." But the challenge and the caveat is, it's extremely difficult to keep this up for a sustained period of time. And I am the biggest example of that. I could do it only once for a period of 6 to 9 months, and that was also driven by a health problem that I had. So it was not like I had the complete normal circumstances, motivation, and everything. Something was driving me to do that out of helplessness, and so I did it. But the effect that it had, the clearing that it had, the solving of the most complex problems in my life, and so on. So the learning that I have is, when life gets complicated, when we are searching for answers, and we do not know sort of where we are headed, how to overcome the plateau, and so on. Just a simple technique, seemingly simple, is to listen to a talk of Sri Mataji every day, and then see how that changes us from within. So it's an extremely powerful method that at least I have found useful. Um, the next one, of course, is the power of the Mahakali. And I think, as many of us know, Mahakali power is in the left channel, is also responsible for solving some of the most intricate and nuanced problems in our lives. And so, improving the Mahakali power, of course, with Sri Ganesha being the left channel, the beginning of the left channel, origination from the Mooladhara, and the Mahakali power, can really help, because when we are out of solutions, when we do not know what to do, where to go, then the Mahakali power is the one that we might want to check along with Sri Ganesha, to see where it can take us by way of solutions. And lastly, the experience that I've had on the techniques part, once again, is, I they are definitely useful. There is no question about that, and must be done. But the challenge is to keep on doing it, not as an item to check off from the list that we have on a daily basis, and not to get sort of complacent and just go through the motions, but to do it from the heart. And so the experience has been that the techniques themselves must be driven by the higher state, or in other words, we work on the state, and working on the state means working on the higher state, which again goes back to the same chain I had mentioned. Thoughtless awareness to start, increase the connection, improve the connection, get subtler, and then stay in that higher state for longer. And when we are in that higher state, then the desire also increases, and that higher state and desire funneling, or driving the techniques, is probably a better way than to start with the techniques and try to make a mental note and then try to say, I must do this. But there has to be some initial initiative, because it's like a vicious circle. When the times are not going good, when we have challenges with our chakras and everything, we have to break that cycle by making an actual effort. And as many people would say and have experienced is, and Sri Mataji herself has said that, is that if you have a severe problem with the left, you must first jump to the right before coming to the center. So you have to use your right-sided and power of your right side to spur yourself into action. And one of those actions can be to be rigorous about the techniques. But then once that momentum is there, what sustains the techniques in a beneficial manner is for the higher state and the desire and that experience and the joy and the silence within to drive the techniques and then get into that positive circle. Otherwise, techniques are almost, I would say, hard to keep doing with consistency. And that's been at least my experience. I've always been off and on in terms of techniques. And just today, there was also a teaching within Sahaj where I heard Sri Mataji was also saying that the Ekadasha Rudra and then Om Tvameva Sakshat, Shri Kalki Sakshat, and all of that. So the power of the Kalki there and in the Sahasrara is the destructive power that destroys everything that's negativity and so on. And for us, it's not about just being happy with we have everything, a good social life, a good career, maybe a good family life and a good collectivity and all that. But it doesn't stop with that. We have to take our ascent seriously and work on destroying all the negativities and so on. And that then she was talking about the importance of shoe beating. And there she was saying that it's not just about mechanically doing the shoe beating, but you have to do it from the heart, and it's a must. And then it works, and then the whole aspect and the power of the Kalki starts to work and so on. So that's the learning about the techniques themselves. And I do think that it is good to even have a checklist kind of an approach. That's not necessarily the wrong thing to do. Because if we don't have that, the moment we say, okay, we shouldn't get ritualistic about it, then that sometimes can become an excuse and cause us to, let go of the technique altogether. And we don't want that, because the ego can be extremely tricky. It can tell us, oh, okay, don't do the technique because, it's just getting ritual. No, I don't think we should follow that advice either. So techniques, we must be doing it as often as we can and pretty much regularly. But the experience that I've had is for the sustainability or for being consistent over a period of time, the state has to be achieved. Otherwise, it's hard to sustain the techniques. We can make an initial push and we can say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do this daily. I'm going to do my shoe beating. I'm going to do my foot soak, etc. And I'm even going to attend the collective and so on. All those things are good. But how do you keep that going week after week after week, month after month, year after year, is to work on the state. And yes, of course, working on the techniques helps us improve the state. But it's like each one of us probably has to figure out, if you have to break the downward spiral and start going upward spiral, at what is your entry point into the spiral, right? Is it through a technique? And then you use the technique to push yourself up, to push the state upward and take you up the spiral, or through some other means, a subtler means, improve the state and then allow the state to further drive the techniques, which then again puts you in that upward spiral, right? So that entry point into the spiral is an interesting, I would say, aspect to introspect for each one of us. There is no one answer. I think that end of the day, our connection will tell us, what is best for us. So those are just some of the, I would say, highlights of what we have been experiencing or I have personally gone through, and hopefully those are useful. And if any of you have any questions or if you have anything to share, I would be most happy to hear those based on whatever I've said or anything else. Because as I said, it's not just about me as an individual. It's about all of us face these problems, and we have to overcome the challenges in a collective manner. And that's, I think, the most important thing also, that we should keep in mind. We can try and rise individually, but Sahaj is a collective phenomenon. Each one of us needs to go higher and sort of take everybody up as a collective mass. So that's the only way that all of us are going to be ascending. So I'll stop there. So the next thing would be to listen to the talk. If Pavan, if anybody has any questions, anything at all wants to say, and we can just give a brief pause.
Bhaiya, this is Viraj. Uh, I had Jai Shri Mataji. I had one question. If, a lot of times we find that we're stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
and do you have any advice on how to overcome that? You find yourself left-sided, and you find yourself, you know, day after day after day. It's the same experience, the same experience.
Yeah.
What additional step can you take to initiate yourself out of it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I faced that so many times, right? And so many instances. So I think what I've heard and what I've also tried is that whole. If you want to break out of that rut, it's typically a left-sided thing, right? That lethargy, and it's like the way Sri Mataji explains is um, the as we go through our life, the different images are captured in our attention and stored in our memory, good and bad. And those bad memories, the way addiction works and the way left-sided problems work is they flash back those images, and then that becomes the temptation and or a factor for us not to make any improvements. So the pull of that of those all those negative images is there. So her thing was, if you can make your spirit and yourself stronger, then allow the spirit part to dominate. Then you can pull out of this whole attraction that is created by those left-sided images. And even then, some challenge will be posed. So for example, if I'm used to a very simple example, right? I'm used to spending my time comfortably for a particular period of time, say at a particular time of the day, let's say morning 7 a.m., right? And I've gotten used to it, and it has been wired into my habit. But if I have to do my meditation or something else positive to break out of that, comfort zone, so to speak, that image of that comfort zone is extremely powerful. It will keep holding me back, and when that 7 a.m. comes, the is going to project all the images onto my attention and say, "Oh, be comfortable. There is no need to do anything else," and all of that. But that is a time when we have to sort of seize control and use our right side to say, I know it's going to come, this image is going to come, it's going to tell me, okay, probably I don't need to do my meditation, etc., and it's going to do that. But at that point in time, that split second or moment or whatever, if we can overcome that using our right side and say no, forcefully do that, then that is one good step. And then if we continue to apply our right side to overcome, jump from the left side to the right side, that is something that has helped specifically when it comes to overcoming stuck in a rut, not able to go anywhere. So I've also found that being more physically active is good for the right side. So if we are continuously being pulled by, okay, this is the way, how do I change myself and all that, do something, start with something physical as well. Change a couple of things that you want to do, a new routine or something. It could be attending a collective, it could be the one thing that I mentioned, listening to a talk every day for 1 week, even forget months, right? Just 1 week. So make a some sort of a desire and a plan at a subtle level, but also accompany that with some good physical activity, because physical activity is correlated with being more right-sided, and it's okay if to be right-sided, because we can then pull out of that. And one particular period of transformation, this is what I did. I was My meditation and all of that improved a lot, and I was listening to a talk every day. But one of the important things I was doing during that period was I was extremely active physically. Like, I never used to allow myself to sit on a couch for more than, say, some half an hour or something. I say, okay, get up, start doing something, find something to do, kind of a thing. I think that the world we live in has been pampered by too many comforts, so that can also sort of have a left-sided effect in and act as a deterrent for us to break out of that cycle and do that. We become perhaps too comfortable with our life. So those are some of the things that I have experienced. I hope that answers your question to some extent.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Yes. Jai Shri Mataji.
Yeah. Okay, so let's now listen to a talk of Sri Mataji. So I have a short clip, and after that we will do our meditation.
We have gathered here to do the puja of Adi Kundalini as well as your own Kundalini. First of all, I think this is the most important thing to understand about your own Kundalini, as self-realization is self-knowledge. And the one who gives you self-knowledge is this your own Kundalini. Because when she rises, she points it out what are the problems on your chakras. Now, we say that it is pure desire. But we do not know what purity means. It means your chaste desire. It means it has no lust, greed, anything in it. That power is your own mother and is settled in your triangular bone. She is your own mother. She knows everything about you. It's like a tape recorder. She knows everything about you. And she is absolutely the knowledge. Because she is so pure. And whatever chakras she touches, she also knows what's wrong with that chakra beforehand. So she is quite prepared and she adjusts herself fully so that you do not get a problem by her awakening. If any chakra is constricted, she waits and goes on slowly, opening that chakra. Now this Kundalini is the primordial power which is reflected within you. And within you, in a human being, it is like many strands of energy. So it's like a rope. And these energies are all twisted together to form this Kundalini. In a human being, these strands are 3 into 7, that is 21, raised to power 108. But when your Kundalini rises, 1 or 2 strands out of this come up and pierce the fontanelle bone area. Only 1 or 2. Because it has to pass through the innermost nadi, known as Brahma Nadi. It's all a spiral throughout, because Kundalini is a spiral and these nadis are also like a spiral. like this. So the innermost nadi is the Brahma nadi. The outermost nadi is the right side. And the second innermost is the Ida nadi. So through the Brahma nadi, she starts sending those threads. By that, they relax the center. By the relaxation of the center, the sympathetic nervous system also starts relaxing. And when it goes to the Agya chakra, then your eyes start relaxing, your pupils start dilating, and your eyes can become like mine, very black, absolutely relaxed. So you can easily see in a person how far is the Kundalini. If it has pierced the Agya, then the eyes will be completely dilated and will be shiny. And then she enters into the Sahasrara. Now it is absolutely pure light of knowledge, love, compassion, and attention. All these three things are in that energy. We know of many energies like electrical energy, we know of light energy, we know of other energies. But these energies cannot think, they cannot adjust, they cannot work on their own. They are to be handled by us. But this energy itself is the living energy and knows how to handle itself. It thinks. If you see a seed being sprouted, you'll find at the tip of the seed there's a small little cell which knows how to go around the soft places and then how to encircle the stones and then how to find its way to the source. That cell has got, I would say, a little Kundalini in it, the way it moves. But within you is a tremendous force of Kundalini exists. So you have a storehouse of compassion which can be enlightened by the Spirit. You have the storehouse of love, compassion, and knowledge, and ocean of forgiveness. When people get realization, they do not understand that they have to now grow. And why they don't grow? Because they do not ask for these energies. A person who is a realized soul, if he says that I have to have more compassion, my compassion is not all right. My concern about others is not all right. My generosity is not all right. I'm exploiting others. I'm exploiting their love. Then this energy starts moving, giving you that greater dimension of love and compassion. But if you do not want to be growing in your awareness, then she says, all right, he is a half-baked Sajogi, let it be. she doesn't supply that energy which is stored within you. I told you, 3 into 7, that is 21 raised to power 108. So what a storage you have within yourself. But because of your mundane style of thinking and asking, in the beginning when I started Sahaja Yoga, people used to ask for, say, jobs, or for my mother is sick or a father is sick, or they would ask for money or something like that. So these wants are not pure wants. As we know in economics, they are not pure wants. They are impure wants. Because they are never satiable in general. So this Kundalini, that is your mother, she is there to supply you, nourish you, to look after you, to make you grow. By giving you a higher personality. Higher personality, wider personality, deeper personality. Now, we think if somebody is well read, then we think he is a higher personality. Sometimes a person who is rich, we think, is a higher personality. Sometimes we think a person who is very hardworking is a higher personality. Sometimes we think a person who is having some sort of a confusion about religion or something, we think he is a higher person. Our ideas about higher personality itself are wrong. People are higher because they are spiritually evolved. Otherwise they are not, they go to dogs. Nobody respects them. Now we are in Germany, and Germany, germ itself means actually Kundalini. Germ means, in Sanskrit as we call it, Ankura. Ankura is the germ. And Germany is the place where we can have Kundalini Puja. Is something really a great coincidence, or I think it's just Parama Chaitanya's arrangements. So, to look at a seed looks like an ordinary thing, nothing special. Could be very hard nut also. Mostly the seeds are in nuts. Mostly. If they are not in nuts, then they might be having some sheath or something, minimum. But you won't find a seed just hanging from somewhere on a tree. It has to have some protection, some sort of a hardness outside. Now, that hardness is there. But the germ has a capacity to break that hardness. Just imagine a germ, which is such a delicate thing, which even if you touch it might break. Can break a germ, can break the covering, the hard shell. How can it do it? Isn't it fantastic? That such a hard shell, which we cannot break it with our teeth even, can be easily broken by a delicate germ. So at that time, what happens is the shell itself doesn't become lively, it doesn't get life. There is no movement of the shell itself, but it moves. and it opens. So that delicate thing, when it grows, then the shell has to break. In the same way, this Kundalini, which is a delicate thing, if you see a person who is compassionate, oh, they say, Mother, he's too much a gem, Everybody has sort of a sympathy, protectiveness for that person. He's just Mother, he's just compassion, it's too much. We always feel such a person to be a weakling, a weak personality, and that he should be protected. Oh Mother, he doesn't know also how to abuse people. How will he beat anyone? He cannot even kill an ant on this road. How can he do anything that is good for nothing? That's our concept. Because we think we should have somebody really a tyrannical person to handle things. But just see that in a seed, it is that delicate germ grows and breaks the shell. In the same way, when we become really delicate like a germ and then grow in our delicacy and in our beauty of compassion, love and knowledge which makes you humble, then these shells will break. But is the other way now? Normally. In Sahaja Yoga now we have leaders. We have had leaders and leaders and leaders. Some of them came like tigers. I didn't know what to do to tell you. Even tiger can be ridden by the goddess Kundalini. Because this love has the power to break any hard nut. So what we should ask for is that beautiful, soft, compassionate nature, and then the Kundalini will supply. Because she only has that. Kundalini doesn't have anything else. All her power is of love. Nothing but love. So how can she give you something she doesn't have, supposing you hate someone? What can she do? She can't do anything because she cannot give you powers to hate. So what she says, you hate someone, Allah forgive. She gives you the power to forgive. Like a sword has to fight, a shield, not a sword. So the violence, as they say, can be only fought with non-violence. In the same way, if we have to grow, the Sahaja Yogis have to grow, first of all, we have to see how softly we talk, how kindly we talk, how considerate we are. Now, this is externally. But when you start doing that externally, the energy starts coming internally. You might say, Mother, even if you think, so that's our thinking. No, we are thinking that. Na? For that thinking, the energy will come from Kundalini. Because you are asking her help. Whatever she has, she is willing to give, but whatever she does not have, how can she give? Now, supposing you want to get angry, she hasn't got the power to show anger. So, how can she give you anger and temper? I mean, sometimes I try, let's see if I can get into ego. How to get, I don't know. Because this Kundalini doesn't know what is this ego, how to pamper the ego, and how to make you fly in the air. No. So, whatever kind of energy she is, she will give you that. So, please remember, those who try to bring in assertions and conditioning and ego and all that are not going to grow because they are not getting the energy from the Kundalini but from outside, which is absolutely useless. So the power of Kundalini is absolute purity, auspiciousness, holiness, chastity, self-respect, pure love, detachment, concern, enlightened attention, to give you joy. As every mother wants that her child should get the joy. Whichever way is possible, she'll try to give joy to her children. In the same way, this Kundalini has only one power: how to give joy to her own children, and she does that. So the power of Kundalini, which is your own mother, which has to rise, which has to come up, which has to manifest itself because of your pure desire. So in your introspection, in your pujas, in your meditation, if you see for yourself why are you meditating, it is for pure desire of compassion and love to be awakened within us. You are already in the meditation. You are already growing. The growth has started. And you grow so fast that this shell, which is this human conditioning and egos, will just break open. And then this small little thing which is only in the triangular bone, imagine there's a very little space in that triangular bone, that it comes out and manifests and can save the whole world. Just see the magnificence, the expansiveness, the greatness of this Kundalini which was within you and which came up in its full strength and has shown tremendous things.
Let's now begin the meditation. So let's take a few seconds, try to take our attention inward. Ask humbly to our Kundalini energy, Mother Kundalini, please make me humble. Please help me surrender to you. And now, let's all raise our Kundalini energy, give ourselves a bandhan collectively. Let's take our attention now to the Muladhara chakra, and then we will recite the mantra of Sri Ganesha. Again, reciting, we will try to align to the scale or the Shruti, as it is called, of the Tampura that I will have playing. And let's try to take a few seconds just to align ourselves to that same scale, which enhances the vibrations of whatever we are reciting. So let's recite the mantra of Sri Ganesha. त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री गणेश साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देव्यै नमो नमः. Two more times. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Ganesha Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Ganesha Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Let's ask for innocence and purity, especially purity and clarity of attention. Now, let's keep our attention on the left channel. We will invoke the power of Sri Mahakali, Mother, as you are Sakshat Mahakali, please protect us from all negativity. Please give us the strength to destroy the negativity inside us, to overcome our inadequacies, problems, and challenges. Now let's recite the mantra of Sri Mahakali Sakshat, Mahakali Bhairava Sakshat. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Mahakali Bhairava Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Now let's collectively work on our left Swadhisthana. So we will use our right hand to clear the left Swadhisthana while we recite Shri Nirmal Vidya Sakshat. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirmal Vidya Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirmala Vidya Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirmala Vidya Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Now let's take our attention to the Sahasrara. Mother, please strengthen our connection to you, to this great power of the Adi Shakti, and to the divine power of the universe. Let's recite the mantra of the three Maha Mantras for the Sahasrara. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Trigunatmika Kundalini Sakshat Shri Adishakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat श्री कल्की साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देव्यै नमो नमः। ॐ त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री कल्की साक्षात् श्री सहस्रार स्वामिनी मोक्षप्रदायिनी माता जी श्री निर्मला देव्यै नमो नमः। Now let's meditate in complete silence, keeping our attention on the Sahasrara. Complete surrender and humility, allowing the power of the Adi Shakti to work within us. Let's now gently open our eyes. Thank the Divine for this great opportunity in our lifetime to have our self realization. Express a pure and strong desire to turn our attention towards spiritual growth, to make all decisions in our lives that aid our spiritual growth, to develop a strong desire to pursue our spiritual growth. Now let's collectively raise our Kundalini energy. All right, so that was the session today, and I'll turn it over to Pawan. Hopefully, that was useful. Name of the year, and I will just send it to Pawan. I don't have it offhand. I kind of renamed the file when I downloaded it, so I will send that.
Jai Shri Mataji. So, thank you, Shankar, so much for your guidance and for your bringing divine attention to our San Diego collective. Jai Shri Mataji.
Sure, Jai Shri Mataji, happy to do so.
Jai Shri Mataji, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Jai Shri Mataji Bhaiya, this is Viraj. Thank you again for
Sure.
taking the time.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. It was good to meditate with everybody. The vibrations were pretty strong.
It was wonderful. Really, really helpful for all of us. Jai Shri Mataji.
Yeah. Jai Shri Mataji.
Thank you so much, Jai Shri Mataji.
And Bhaiya, this is Viraj. One last request. If I took the liberty to record this session, I hope it's okay with you. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind if we shared it with the rest of the collective that wasn't able to attend live, just on our WhatsApp group. Would that be okay with you?
Sure, absolutely. That's
Okay.
fine.
Want to make sure. Okay. Excellent. Thank you again.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jai Shri.
Everyone.
Jai
Yep.
Shri Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.